The Knights of the Old Republic was released over 2 decades ago in 2003, and with the recent announcement from Saber that the remake is still in development, I thought now would be a good time to release a video going through the story of the original game, for those who want a refresher, or who are curious about the story, but never played the game itself. In this video, we will be focusing primarily on the main canon choices, as there are far too many options and side quests to cover everything. I will also be making a separate video on Knights of the Old Republic 2 if this video does well, so please comment below if this interests you. For now, let's go back 4,000 years before the rise of the Empire, and join one of the best protagonists in the Star Wars universe aboard the Endar Spire. Revan awakens in his quarters on the Endar Spire, knowing nothing of his past or his own identity, believing himself to be just another member of the Republic fleet. His bunkmate, Trask Ulgo, rushes into the room to tell him that the ship has been ambushed by a Sith battle fleet, and they need to make sure Bastila, the commanding officer, makes it off the ship safely. As the two leave their quarters, the Endar Spire's captain, Carth Onasi, calls for reinforcements to the bridge. Revan and Trask fight their way to the bridge, but Bastila is not there. Trask says Bastila must have already gone to the escape pods, and that they should do the same. As they leave the bridge, they come across a dark Jedi, and Trask goes to hold them off, telling Revan to get to the escape pods. As Revan makes his way there, Carth tells him that Bastila has already left the ship in an escape pod, and that the two of them are the last two alive on the ship, R.I.P. Trask. Revan is able to make it to the last remaining escape pod, and together he and Carth flee the Endar Spire. The escape pod crashes on Taris, a Sith-controlled planet. Revan is knocked out in the crash, but Carth is uninjured, and is able to transport them both to a nearby abandoned apartment. While Revan is unconscious, he dreams of a woman fighting a dark Jedi. When Revan awakens, Carth comments that he seemed to be having a nightmare, before explaining their situation and that they have to find Bastila. Carth tells Revan that Bastila is special. Not only does she have the reputation of having killed Darth Revan, but she possesses the power of battle meditation, and can influence entire armies with her mind. Some of the escape pods from the Endar Spire crashed into the Undercity, and Carth suggests looking for Bastila there. As soon as Carth and Revan leave the apartment, they see a Sith patrol conducting a raid on the apartment building. One of the residents protests and is cut down. The Sith then spot Revan and Carth, recognizing them to be Republic fugitives, and they attack. Revan and Carth are able to eliminate the Sith, and then speak with the surviving resident, who says they will move the Sith bodies to make it look like they were killed elsewhere. Heading out into the upper city, Revan sees the remains of their crashed escape pod, already being picked apart by salvage drones. Looking for information, Revan and Carth come across the cantina, where they meet a Sith officer, Sana, who invites them to a party later. In the medical center, they also meet a doctor who has been treating injured Republic soldiers, and is keen to get his hands on a serum that has been developed by the Republic before the Sith took Taris. This serum is a cure for the rat ghoul disease, which has been plaguing the city, and turning the infected into creatures who hunger for flesh. Revan finds the elevator to the lower city, the first step in making it to the Undercity, but unfortunately it is guarded by a Sith, who is only letting through those with the proper authorization papers, and Sith patrols. With no way of accessing the lower city for now, Revan decides to take Sana up on her invitation, and finds the Sith officer party in one of the apartments. Conveniently, all of the officers get blackout drunk, giving Revan the opportunity to take a set of Sith armor. Now disguised as a Sith officer, Revan is allowed to enter the lower city, where he and Carth immediately come across members of opposing gangs, the Black Vulkar and the Hidden Beck, in a conflict. The Black Vulkar members kill the Hidden Beck members, and then turn on Revan and Carth, who are able to defeat them. Making their way through the lower city, Revan and Carth come first to the lower city cantina, where they witness a bounty hunter putting down 3 members of the Black Vulkar gang who are bothering him, and a young Twi'lek girl, Mission, who calls upon her Wookiee companion Zalbar to send off some Rodians who are bothering her. Mission is delighted to meet Revan and Carth, calling herself and Zalbar their welcoming committee. After a brief chat, Mission comments that she is heading off to the Hidden Beck base. Leaving the cantina and continuing down the corridor, Revan comes across the entrance to the hidden back base. The entrance is guarded, but after a brief interaction, the guard lets them inside to talk to their leader, Gadon Thek. Speaking with Gadon, Revan asks about the escape pods which crashed into the Undercity. It turns out the Black Velka stripped the pods clean shortly after they crashed, and they found Bastila. They took her as a prisoner and are offering her up as a prize to the winner of the annual Swoop Gang race. The good news is that Gadon is willing to allow Revan to enter the race as the hidden back rider, and if they win, they can free Bastila. The less good news is that in order to win, they will need to liberate an accelerator that had been stolen by the Black Velka. Revan will need to break into the Black Velka base to recover it. Gadon suggests enlisting Mission's help in accessing the base, as she knows the Undercity sewers better than anyone. He thinks that she will have made her way into the Undercity, and tells Revan that the elevator to the Undercity is also under Sith guard, and that security is much tighter than it is in the Upper City, so the Sith armor alone won't be enough to get them past the guard. Gadon offers to trade the Sith armor for some security papers his gang took off Sith patrol, as these will be enough to grant them access to the elevator. Sure enough, the Sith guard allows Revan and Karth to take the elevator to the Undercity, but not before warning them of the rat ghouls. When the elevator doors open, Revan is met by two beggars, who tell him that the price for using the elevator is 5 credits. The beggars are quickly sent off by a young woman who resides in the Undercity, who assures Revan that not everyone in the village is like those two. She comments that she has never seen the surface world, and tells him that one of the old men in the village would tell her stories of the Promised Land when she was a child. She also tells him that there have been others from the surface, but they didn't talk to her, and she suggests that Revan and Karth talk to Gendar. Revan comes across the old villager, Rakil, nearby, and is asked if he is the Herald of Prophecy. Rakil tells Revan that his apprentice, Malia, has gone missing after Rakil sent her out to search for something for him. Revan agrees to help find the apprentice. Revan then locates Gendar and asks him about Mission. He tells Revan that Mission and Zalbar often pass through the village on their way to exploring the sewers. Heading to the village gate, Revan and Karth see a man outside running to the gate with rat ghouls chasing him. The villager on the gate refuses to open it for fear that the rat ghouls will get into the village. Revan says that if they open the gate, he will go outside and kill the rat ghouls, convincing the villager to open the gate and let them out. Revan and Karth are easily able to take down the rat ghouls, saving the villager's life. Making their way further out from the village, they see Mission running up to them. She begs them for help. Zalbar has been taken by some Gamorreans, who will sell him into slavery. Revan agrees to help her in exchange for her help in getting into the Volca base. She agrees and the three head off, soon coming across a Sith patrol, who mentions that the Sith have lost another patrol in the South Undercity. Revan decides to search for the missing patrol to see if they have any rat ghoul serum on them. The group encounter a large number of rat ghouls, and after eliminating them, find the missing patrol all deceased. Fortunately, they had died before using all of the rat ghoul serum for themselves, so Revan is able to loot this from one of the bodies. Revan also comes across a salvage team led by Kendaris Ordo, who tells Revan that they had been sent to salvage the Republic escape pods. Heading into the sewers to look for Zalbar, the group is met by Gamorreans and rat ghouls, and they come across a number of bodies, some of which have journals with entries about the Promised Land. Eventually they find Zalbar, who is incredibly grateful for the assist, and swears a life debt to Revan, giving no credit for his rescue to Karth. Mission says this life debt means Revan is stuck with her too, as wherever Zalbar goes, she goes too. With Zalbar rescued, Mission makes good on her promise, lowering the force field to the section of the sewers that lead to the Valkar base. Before heading into the base, Revan goes to look for Rakil's apprentice and finds her body and her journal. Returning to the village, Revan is able to cure 2 infected villagers using the serum he found off the dead Sith. He also takes the 3 diaries back to Rakil, who says the other journals they found belong to his father and grandfather. And with all 3 journals together, the villagers will be able to find the Promised Land. Gendar believes Rakil, and so all the villagers head off. With that done, Revan returns to the sewers, and towards the section leading to the Black Valkar base. Mission does warn them though that there is a Rancor monster in this part of the sewers. Sure enough, as the group presses on, they come across a severed arm, still holding a hidden back datapad, which tells of a plan to kill a Rancor by using a synthesized odor to trick it into eating something lethal. The Rancor is in the next room. Revan sneaks past it to a pile of corpses and hides a frag grenade within them, then using the synthesized odor to trick the Rancor into eating it. With the beast dead, the group moves on to the next room, where 2 Black Vulkars guard the elevator to their base. The trio is able to eliminate the guards fairly easily and take the elevator into the base. Making their way through the corridors, they eventually come across a slave in the bar who tells them that the gang works on their swoop bikes in the garage on the lower levels, and that they may find the accelerator there. The slave also says that Bastila is not in the Black Vulkar base. Making their way to the armory and control room, they come across one of the old-school Black Vulkars, who does not agree with how the current leader is running things. He confirms that the accelerator is in the garage, and that to get there they would need to take an elevator guarded by turrets. They could try to put them offline using the computer terminal nearby, or find a security card, which is also helpfully nearby on one of the Vulkars in the barracks. Either way, the group heads into the garage, eventually coming across Ark Kando and his bodyguards along with the accelerator. Kando offers Revan a deal: kill Garden instead, ride in the swoop race as the Black Vulkar rider, and if they win, they get Bastila. Revan does not accept the deal and instead takes out Kando and his bodyguards before taking the accelerator and returning to Garden. Revan then spends the night in the hidden back base before heading to the swoop track in the morning. There he sees Bastila in a cage guarded by a Black Vulkar. Revan is able to secure the fastest race time of the day, and the race announcer invites the Black Vulkar leader to present his prize. However, the leader accuses Revan of cheating by using the prototype accelerator, and says that he is withdrawing the prize and will sell Bastila instead. The announcer protests that he cannot do that, but as they argue, Bastila frees herself from the neural inhibitor. The Black Vulkar leader says to kill Bastila and Revan, but Bastila is far too strong, and does the majority of the work taking down the Black Vulkars. After the fight, Bastila is unimpressed by Revan telling her that he had come to save her, though she is pleased to hear that Karth survived the Endar Spire. The two head back to Karth, but as they do, Revan has a vision of Bastila and other Jedi fighting Darth Revan. Despite his visions, Revan still has no idea of his true identity. They discuss needing to leave the planet, and Bastila suggests asking around the cantinas for help. Revan also tells Bastila of the vision he had, and she says that it is a sign of Force sensitivity. She says that they can consult the Jedi Council once they make it off Taris. Revan leaves the apartment and is immediately approached by a Twi'lek who tells him that the mercenary, Candarosodo, wants to see him. Since the plan was to go to the cantinas anyway, Revan goes to the cantina to see what Candaros wants. The mercenary offers Revan a deal: break into the Sith base and obtain the launch codes required for a ship to leave Taris safely, and in return, Candaros will allow Revan and his crew to come with him on the Ebon Hawk, a ship which he intends to steal from Davik. Candaros tells Revan that he will need a T3M4 utility droid to acquire the codes, and sends him to Janice Nal's shop. Before heading to the shop though, Revan stops by the medical center to deliver the Rakghoul serum. Revan then obtains the droid and heads off to the military base. T3M4 makes short work of the door, and inside the receptionist is fairly easy to persuade into leaving without sounding the alarm. The group heads through the base, taking down members of the Sith and coming across the same Duros who offered to move the bodies of the Sith Revan killed in front of his hideout. Revan is able to let him out of his cell, and he flees the base. Eventually, Revan finds the Sith governor, and on his body, the launch codes he needs to escape Taris. Returning to the lower city cantina, Candaros tells Revan that the plan is for Candaros to tell Davik that Revan is a new potential recruit for the exchange. Davik would then have Revan stay at his estate for a few days while doing some background checks. At the same time, above the planet, Darth Malak is ordering his admiral to destroy Taris. The admiral protests the death of their own forces and billions of innocent lives, but to no avail. Back in Davik's compound, Candaris is able to convince Davik that Revan is a new recruit. Davik takes Revan and Candaris to the guest wing and instructs Revan that while he is able to take advantage of the amenities in the slave quarters, he is not to leave the guest wing or bother his other guests. Davik then leaves with Kalo Nord, and Candaris suggests immediately finding a way to get past the security system for the Ebon Hawk. Taking Davik up on his offer first, Revan makes his way to the slave quarters and asks for information. One of the slaves offers some information that the Ebon Hawk pilot is currently locked in Davik's torture chamber for stealing spices. She also tells Revan that the torture chamber is just past Davik's throne room. Sure enough, Revan finds the pilot in the torture chamber, and as soon as the pilot is released, he hands over the codes to disable the Ebon Hawk security system. Revan is able to use the pilot's codes to access the hangar, but finds Davik and Kalo Nord already there. Davik and Kalo attack, but as Davik is killed, Kalo pulls out a detonator and threatens to blow up the hangar. Fortunately, the bombardment from the Sith causes part of the building to fall on Kalo, seemingly killing him as well. Revan is able to escape on the Ebon Hawk and collect the rest of his companions before the planet is destroyed. Fighter ships from the Sith fleet pivot to attack the Ebon Hawk directly, and Revan is tasked with holding them off with the gun turret until Carth and Bastila are able to take the Ebon Hawk into hyperspace. When the Ebon Hawk arrives on Dantooine, Bastila leaves to speak with the Jedi Council, asking the others to wait on the ship. When she returns, it is with the news that the Council wants to speak with Revan. The Council inform Revan that they are considering accepting him for training as a Jedi. The Council dismisses Revan and he returns to the Ebon Hawk to await their decision. While resting, Revan has another vision. This time he sees Darth Revan and Malak in an ancient ruin. Malak senses that the dark side is strong in the ruins and expresses concern about passing through a sealed doorway, commenting that the Jedi Order will banish them for pursuing the Starforge and questioning if its power is worth it. When Revan awakens, Carth tells him that Bastila has already gone back to the Council and that she wanted Revan to meet her. He makes his way to the Council chambers and finds that Bastila has shared his vision of Revan and Malak and has told the Council about it. The Council believes that Bastila and this current version of Revan have a force bond and that their destinies are linked. The Council has decided that Revan should be trained in the Academy, and then, when he is ready, that he and Bastila should investigate the ruins to search for some clue as to how Darth Revan and Malak were corrupted and how to stop Malak. The Council also withholds knowledge of Revan's identity from him. Revan spends weeks in the temple undergoing Jedi training. He trains in combat with Bastila. He learns meditation to channel the Force, and he studies the wisdom of the Jedi. This initial training complete, Revan officially becomes a Jedi apprentice and is told he must successfully pass 3 tests in order to become a Padawan. The first is simple enough, reciting the Jedi Code. The second is equally straightforward, choosing which path he would take with the Jedi and constructing his lightsaber. The third is to deal with something which has caused an ancient grove nearby to become tainted by the dark. The Council and other Jedi will not tell Revan what the source of the taint is, but that he has to discover it for himself. Heading towards the grove, Revan is attacked by Kath hounds, who have been affected by the taint. The group has to put down many of these creatures before they come across the source of the taint, a young Jedi woman who, upon seeing Revan, stuns his 2 companions and attacks. Revan is able to overpower her, and, defeated, she tells Revan that she has embraced the dark side after inadvertently killing her Jedi Master during training. Revan is able to convince her to return to the Enclave, to show the Council that she has changed, and to ask them to accept her back. Returning to the Enclave, Revan learns that Juhani had not actually slain her master, and that it had merely been a test for her, one that she has now passed by returning to them. Revan too has passed his 3rd test by helping Juhani, and with his 3 tests completed, he is now tasked with travelling to the ruins to unknowingly retrace his own footsteps. As they make their way into the ruins, Revan and Bastila are met by a droid speaking a language they do not recognize. The droid tries 2 additional languages, finally speaking an ancient version of the Selkath language, which Revan and Bastila both recognize. The droid explains that it is programmed to speak the languages of what it calls the slave species, so that the instructions of the builders can be passed on. Bastila surmises that the builders must be an extinct species, though there is no record of their existence, even in the Academy's archives. The reason for this becomes clear when the droid reveals that it has been there for more than 20,000 years, meaning that these ruins predate the Republic by some 5,000 years. The droid tells Revan and Bastila that others like them had come to gain knowledge of the Starforge, and had proven themselves worthy. Now, Revan and Bastila must do the same. They do this by defeating 2 Guardian droids and successfully identifying planetary types conducive to life and death. Revan and Bastila were then able to pass through the sealed doorway and discovered a map. The map highlighted the planets of Korriban, Kashyyk, Tattooine, and Manaan, but it was incomplete. Revan supposes that there may be other clues on these 4 planets. Bastila agrees, and the group returns to the Jedi Council to tell them of what they've learned. The Council listen to their findings before saying that they intend to search the archives for any mention of the Starforge, and would summon them again when they were ready. When the Council does summon them again, it is to tell Revan and Bastila that they are being sent to seek out star maps on Kashyyk, Tattooine, Manaan, and Korriban, and thereafter to find the location of the Starforge. Juhani is also requested to join this mission, and the Council hopes that her presence will serve as a reminder of the dangers of falling to the dark side. The Council also approves of Revan's other companions from Taris joining him. Before leaving the Jedi Enclave, Revan and Mission run into a Twi'lek named Lena, who had been dating Mission's brother Griff. Mission had blamed Lena for Griff abandoning her when he left Taris, but Lena says that it was Griff's idea to leave her behind. She tells Mission that Griff had gone to Tattooine to make his fortune working the Zerka Corporation mines. Revan returns to the Ebon Hawk, and the group leaves Dantooine to seek out the first of the star maps and Griff on Tattooine. While the Ebon Hawk had been on Dantooine, Malak was discussing the Sith situation with Admiral Kareth. While the Starforge was exceeding expectations, Malak was more concerned about Bastila and how she escaped Taris. The Admiral tells him that she had had the help of Carth Onasi and presents Kalo Nord to Malak, explaining that Kalo had been a witness to their escape. Kalo has offered his services to the Sith to track down Bastila. Malak accepts and orders that Bastila be captured alive, though he does not care what happens to her companions. At this, Admiral Karath asks for a private audience, away from the common soldiers, as Kalo has something interesting to tell Malak about Bastila's other companions. Back on the Ebon Hawk, Revan is resting and has another vision, seeing the location of the star map on Tatooine. As the Ebon Hawk arrives on the planet, Revan speaks with Bastila, who had the same vision. Bastila expresses her surprise that a star map would be somewhere in the desolate wastes of Tatooine. Leaving the ship, Revan is approached by a customs officer with Zerka Corporation, there to charge a docking fee. This representative tells Revan that the Zerka Corporation coming to Tatooine has been bad business. The ore being mined is peculiar and no good for manufacturing, and the native people, the Sand People, are attacking outsiders on site. The representative doesn't know anything about a star map or any ancient artifacts. Before Revan can leave the docking bay to go exploring, he is stopped by an Aqualish, who told him that the shipment of Gizka that had been ordered to the docking bay had been loaded onto the ship. Revan protests that he didn't order anything, but the Aqualish doesn't care and won't take the adorable shipment back. While in Anchorhead, Bastila is approached by a Twi'lek woman, who tells Bastila that her mother is there in Anchorhead, in the cantina. She says that Bastila's mother was unwell and had been looking for her. Sure enough, they find Helena in the cantina. During the rather unpleasant reunion, Helena says that Bastila's father was killed by a crate dragon, and she wants Bastila to find his body and retrieve his holocron. Bastila makes no promise of doing this. The only people allowed to leave Anchorhead are those with a hunting license, so Revan goes to the Zerka office to obtain one. As he enters, he sees the Zerka representative is speaking with an irate Duros, who is accusing Zerka Corporation of murdering an entire village. After the Duros storms out, Revan speaks with a representative to obtain the license, but is told that no more are being sold. However, if Revan agrees to hunt the Sand People, then the representative will provide him with a license. Revan agrees to this and takes the license. Revan also asks the representative about Griff, and she confirms he had been working for Zerka before being taken by the Sand People. Leaving the office, Revan finds the Duros approaching him to ask that he find a peaceful solution to the situation with the Sand People. He tells Revan that the local droid shop has a droid for sale capable of translating the language of the Sand People, which Revan could use to communicate with them instead of simply killing them. He also suggests taking some Sand People outfits as disguises in order to approach their settlement without being attacked. On the way to the droid shop, Revan is intercepted by 3 Dark Jedi and is forced to put them down. Making it to the shop without further incident, Revan is able to purchase HK-47, who is most satisfied with his change in ownership and is looking forward to engaging in some unadulterated violence. However, Revan finds that HK-47's memory is also damaged, and Revan is unable to restore it. Hunting license and droid in hand, Revan makes his way towards the city gate, and on his way comes across a Jawa named Iziz. Iziz says that he is the leader of his tribe, and he begs Revan to rescue some Jawa who have been captured and enslaved by the Sand People. Revan finally makes it out of the city, showing his license to the gate guard to secure their passage out into the Dune Sea. On the other side of the gate, Revan finds a woman, Marlena Ven, who believes Revan must be one of her husband's hunting buddies, and asks him to pass on a message that she hopes her husband enjoys his anniversary gift. Revan finds that she has sabotaged his hunting drones to kill him if he moves, so he is a bit stuck. The solutions to fix the programming issues are relatively simple, which speaks volumes as to the caliber of hunters on Tattooine. After leaving Marlena's husband, Revan finds 3 miners by a damaged sandcrawler. Revan is barely able to speak with the miners before the Sand People attack. After dealing with the attack, Revan returns to speak with the miners, who tell him that the Sand People settlement is to the south. Revan heads towards the settlement, picking up Sand People outfits along the way from some additional attacks. He dons the disguise and finds that it works to get him inside the enclave. However, once he is in closer quarters with a Sand People warrior, he finds the disguise is less effective. Revan quickly has HK-47 communicate that he and his party are not a threat, and the trio is taken to see the Sand People chieftain. Revan implores the chieftain to stop the attacks on the miners. The chieftain offers Revan a deal, a reduction in the number of attacks in exchange for moisture vaporators. The chieftain wishes to move his people further away from Anchorhead, but they need to build up their stores of water first. Deciding the solution is better than nothing, Revan agrees and is escorted out of the settlement. He returns to Anchorhead and the Zerka office. Revan is able to buy moisture vaporators from the Rhodian merchant in the Zerka office, who appreciates Revan going around Zerka policy. Returning to the Sand People, Revan finds the chieftain is pleased, if not a bit surprised, to see that he has made good on the deal. The chieftain tells Revan the attacks will end, and as a further reward, gives Revan his gaffy stick. The chieftain also knows of the star map's location, and gives Revan a map to it. However, he warns Revan that the star map is in an excavation site that has become the home to a crate dragon. Before leaving the Sand People settlement, Revan is also able to ask for the release of Griff and the enslaved Jawa. The chieftain considers all these captives to be useless anyway, and is happy to see them gone. Revan spoke to Griff, who confirmed that it was his idea to leave Mission behind on Taris. He then goes on to ask Mission for some credits, much to her disgust. Finally, Griff tells Revan that he will make his way back to the Zerka Corporation office. While obtaining the Vaporators may have been the light side way of resolving the conflict between Zerka Corporation and the Sand People, in another life, Revan may have attacked the chieftain and wiped out his people instead. It would certainly be the most straightforward way of completing the task Zerka Corporation had given him, and he would still be able to obtain that map from the chieftain's body. Either way, leaving the Sand People compound, Revan makes his way to the location on the chieftain's map, and as he approaches, he sees a hunter. Let's call him Leroy, who says he is sick of waiting and runs into the cave before promptly being killed. The other hunter outside actually had a plan to kill the dragon and engages Revan's assistance, having him draw the bantha herd near to the cave In order to lure the dragon out into a minefield the hunter had set up, the plan works and the dragon is felled. Inside the cave, Revan finds and activates the star map. They also find Bastila's father's body and are able to retrieve the holocron that her mother had asked for. Leaving the cave, they find Kalo Nord, attempting to fulfill the contract he had been given by Malak. This time, Kalo does not survive his encounter with Revan. With the information from this star map in hand, Revan heads back to Anchorhead, stopping in at the Zerka office to hand in the chieftain's gaffy stick for his reward, the protocol officer assuming that the chieftain is dead. Griff has also successfully made his way back to the Zerka office and asks Revan to engage in an act of animal cruelty. Before returning to the Ebon Hawk, Revan and Bastila return to the cantina to speak with Helena. Helena reveals that she gave Bastila to the Jedi in order to protect her from the dangerous life they were living. Helena is now terminally ill, and while she had wanted the holocron in order to see her husband again, she ultimately tells Bastila that it would bring her more comfort if Bastila kept the holocron. Leaving Tattooine, Revan moves on to the next planet, Zelbar's homeworld, Kashyyk. On the way, he has another vision showing the star map of this world deep in the forest. When they landed, another Zerka Corporation representative met them at the landing pad, requesting payment for the docking fee, and saying he will answer any further questions in the information center. As Revan leaves the landing pad, Zelbar stops him and confesses that he had been exiled from Kashyyk due to a confrontation with his brother Chunda. Zelbar had discovered that Chunda had been in cahoots with the Zerka Corporation, helping them enslave their own people. Zelbar, in his anger, lashed out at his brother and showed his claws when attacking. In doing so, he lost all standing with his people. He was deemed a mad claw, and nothing that he could say would be trusted. After reassuring Zelbar, Revan continues on to the information center to speak further with the Zerka representative. There he learns that Chunda had become the chieftain of Zelbar's people, and that he maintains a deal with Zerka Corporation, exchanging healthy Wookiees for weapons. The representative cannot help Revan locate the star map, telling him that the forest floor, referred to as the Shadowlands, is largely unexplored. Revan decides to make his way to the Shadowlands and leaves the area guarded by the Zerka Corporation, to much warning by the gate guard captain. Immediately outside the gate, Revan is attacked by Kinrath and has to fight his way through. He soon comes across a group of Zerka employees standing over a dead Wookiee. They tell Revan that they had killed the Wookiee for being too rebellious. Revan tells them that he will not allow them to kill or enslave any more Wookiees and convinces them to leave the planet. Moving on, Revan comes across a Wookiee guarding the way down to the Shadowlands. The Wookiee tells him that no one is allowed down to the Shadowlands without Chundar's permission. He also recognizes Zelbar, calling him a mad claw. The Wookiee directs Revan to the nearby village to speak with Chunda. Revan complies, and when he arrives at the village, he finds that Chunda is willing to allow him to descend into the Shadowlands. Actually, he insists on it, taking Zelbar hostage and saying that he will hold Zelbar until Revan goes into the Shadowlands and kills another Madclaw who had been living down there and messing with his Zerka Corporation allies. With his companion taken and needing to access the Shadowlands to find the star map, Revan has no choice but to agree to this. After leaving the village, Revan sees 3 Wookiees fighting some Kinrath. He helps them and attempts to speak with one of them, Choral, but the conversation does not go well. Getting nothing further out of him, Revan makes his way to the lift and descends into the Shadowlands. Making his way through the forest, Revan comes across a Jedi, Jolee Bindo, who tells him to follow him back to his camp. When Revan does so, Jolee tells him that he knows about the star map, but there are certain barriers on the way to it. Jolee says he can remove these barriers if Revan does something for him first. Deal with some poachers who'd been threatening the local wildlife. The poachers rely on emitters which keep predators away from their camp. The guards for the emitters would really like an excuse to leave the area, so gladly give Revan the code to shut them down. With the emitters down, a torrent attack attacks the camp, causing the poachers to flee. With the local wildlife marginally safer, Revan returns to Jolee, who, true to his word, joins Revan on his expedition and removes a repulsor field, allowing them to go deeper into the Shadowlands. There they save a Wookiee who was being attacked by Mandalorians who had wiped out his hunting party. They also come across the Madclaw that Chunda had ordered Revan to put down, The Madclaw is Chunda and Zalbar's father, Freya, the previous leader of the Wookiees on Kashyyk. He mistakes Revan and his companions for members of Zerka Corporation and attacks them, but is weak and quickly subdued. Still believing Revan to be Zerka, he asks him to end it, but when Revan says Zalbar follows him due to a life debt, Freya agrees to listen and opens up about the past. He greatly regrets believing Chunda over Zalbar, and by the time he realized the truth and confronted Chunda, it was too late. Chunda had already spread rumors of Freya's madness, and when confronted, Chunda responded by attacking Freya with his Zerka allies as backup. Freya had no choice but to flee into the deepest Shadowlands. Freya does have a plan though for regaining the support of his people by appealing to their traditions. These traditions say that their distant ruler carries a blade which was created by an ancient warrior. This blade was broken in two a generation ago when the chieftain took on a great beast, and the blade broke off in its hide. Chunda still carries the hilt, but if the blade itself could be recovered, then Freya could use it to reassert his claim as chieftain. Revan goes to the ritual site and confronts the ritual beast, a torrent attack. He is able to complete the ritual, and sure enough finds the blade still lodged in the beast's hide. He returns the blade to Freya, who says he will return to the surface to gather support and await Revan's arrival. He will confront Chunda once Revan arrives. Before Revan can return to the surface, he must find the star map. It sits on the ground of the Shadowlands, watched over by a computer. Revan approaches the computer and it recognizes something in him, though it is concerned by Revan's demonstrated ignorance of the computer's purpose. It insists on a behavioral test and asks Revan a series of questions to determine his character. Revan fails the test by choosing options which prioritize loyalty and preservation of life over military advantage. Failing the test causes the star map's defenses to activate. These don't pose too much of a challenge, and once they've been destroyed, the computer declares that Revan's scans during combat revealed much, and that the computer's programming now instructs it to give Revan what he seeks, the star map. With the star map acquired, Revan heads back to the lift, expecting the lift operator, Gawukin, to be waiting to take him back to the treetops. Unfortunately for Gawukin, he is a Chunda loyalist and attacks Revan along with two other Wookiees. Revan and his companions are forced to eliminate all three misguided Wookiees before using the lift. Ascending to the treetops, Revan's group is met with Jural, who leads them the back way to the throne room. There, Freya is in a standoff with Chunda, asserting his right to lead through the possession of the blade. Chunda does not accept this and maintains that he is the rightful chieftain, still holding the blade's hilt, despite Zalbar attempting to serve as a mediator and managing to convince Freya that a peaceful solution might be possible. Chunda is unable to be convinced, proclaiming that he still has the support of his Zerka allies. Zalbar, Freya, and Revan's group have no choice but to put down Chunda and his Wookiee and Zerka supporters. In the aftermath, Freya asks Zalbar to stay on Kashyyk by his father's side. Zalbar, though, tells his father that he must honour the life debt he swore to Revan. Zalbar does ask, though, to take the traditional blade with him, promising to bring it back one day. Freya agrees, calling it an investment. After all, the blade is held by chieftains, and by future chieftains. With the star map having been claimed, and Freya reinstated as chieftain, Revan makes his way back to the starport, seeing as he does that the Wookiees are well on their way to removing the Zerka Corporation presence from their planet. Of course, Revan did not need to side with Freya in the throne room. He could have so easily killed him in the Shadowlands, or just sided with Chunda at the last moment and killed him in the throne room, allowing Chunda to remain chieftain and maintain his deal with Zerka Corporation. Even Zalbar could be convinced that his brother's way was the right one, and if he was, Chunda would have promised Zalbar a place among his people again, in time. Either way, having collected Kashyyk's star map, Revan's group departs for the next planet, the ocean world Manaan. While Revan had been on Kashyyk, Admiral Karath had reported Kalo Nord's failure on Tattooine to Malak. Malak decides that he will send his own apprentice, Darth Bandon, instructing him to find Bastila and bring her to him alive, if possible. The Ebon Hawk arrives in the spaceport of Artu City. Leaving the ship, Revan finds a Sith and a Republic soldier in the midst of an argument. The Sith invites the Republic soldier to attack him, saying if he did, the Selkath would be all over him within 30 seconds. The Sith soldier storms off, and Revan is able to ask the Republic soldier why the Sith are there. The soldier explains that the reason that both sides are on the planet is for the most powerful healing substance in the galaxy, Kolto, which only occurs on Manaan. The Selkath are determined to be neutral in the Republic-Empire conflict, so sell Kolto to both sides and allow both sides to stay in the city, enforcing a truce between the Republic and the Empire, while they are on Manaan. The soldier directs Revan to the Republic Enclave for any other questions he might have. Revan and Carth also run into an old friend of Carth's, Jordo. Jordo commiserates with Carth over the attack on their planet, and tells Carth he is sorry for the loss of his wife, but at least his son Dustil made it out. Carth was not aware that his son had survived, as he had been missing since the attack. Jordo then tells Carth that Dustil is fine, though he has joined the Sith, and is at the Academy on Korriban. Carth tells Revan that they will need to go to the Academy, and Revan promises that they will go just as soon as they can. Leaving the spaceport, Revan pays the docking fee, and is given a reminder of the careful neutrality which is maintained on Manaan. Exploring the city, the group is approached by a woman who knows Jolee, and asks for his help. She says that her husband, Sunri, has been accused of murder by the Sith, and he is being held by the court. She proclaims her husband's innocence, and says he is being framed. Heading into the court, Revan witnesses the court hearing a dispute between the Republic and Sith forces. When the sentence is delivered, Revan is able to speak with the judges and asks to investigate the murder case against Sunri. This is deemed acceptable, as defendants are allowed an arbiter to advocate for them. Revan helps Jolee investigate the crime, speaking to Sunri and to a number of witnesses. With the investigation ongoing, Revan also stops by the nearby Republic Enclave. There, Revan speaks with the Republic official, Roland Wan. Revan first tells Roland that he is on a mission from the Jedi Council and is looking for a star map. Roland says that he may have useful information for Revan if Revan first does something for him, namely reclaim a data recording from a Republic droid, which had been taken by the Sith. Roland makes 3 suggestions for how Revan could gain access to the Sith base. Among these is the suggestion that Revan could try breaking the encryption on one of the Sith pass cards the Republic has been able to acquire. Revan is able to do so easily enough, and while using the embassy terminals, he also accessed a data archive, finding a recording of the murder of the Sith woman, which clearly shows Sunri is guilty. Revan returns to the prison to confront Sunri. When Revan tells Sunri of the recording, he does confess, claiming that he snapped when he found out she had been using him for information. It is then up to Revan to choose whether to present the recording to the court, which would result in Sunri being found guilty and sentenced to death, or whether to defend him and have him found innocent. Before going to the Sith base, Revan stops by the Mercenary Enclave. There, he is approached by a Selkath who is concerned about his missing daughter. He believes that the Sith are responsible for her disappearance, and the disappearances of other young Selkath. Revan agrees to look into these disappearances, and then makes his way to the Sith base. The pass card works to get past the external guard, but as soon as Revan gets inside the building, the Sith on the security desk recognizes him to be a spy. The Sith attack, and Revan's group has to put them down. The group fight their way through the Sith base, and are able to recover the data module from the Republic droid. While in the base, they also come across the young missing Selkath. Revan tries to convince them to leave, but they refuse, saying that the Sith had promised to train them in the Force, and believing that the Sith ultimately intend to leave Manaan and respect its independence once the Republic has been defeated. Leaving the Selkath group for now, Revan presses on, finding the Sith Master, and after defeating him, finding his datapad. This datapad describes the Sith's plan to use the young Selkath to overthrow the government and install a puppet one in its place. With the datapad in hand, Revan returns to the young Selkath. With this evidence, the Selkath agree to leave the base and alert the authorities to the Sith's treachery. Revan also leaves the Sith base, intending to return to the Republic Enclave, but he is intercepted by a member of the R2 City Civil Authority, who detains him for the violence inside the base. Revan is placed in a cell and left there for his court-appointed arbiter. The arbiter is fairly useless, but Revan is able to tell them of the datapad, showing the Sith's plan for the young Selkath they had taken. Revan is permitted to present this datapad to the judges, who, in their gratitude for Revan uncovering the Sith plot, decide to drop all charges against him. Free to go, Revan stops by the Mercenary Enclave to let the Selkath father know he found his daughter, and convinced her to leave the Sith. Revan then returns to the Republic Enclave, and gives Roland the data he recovered from the droid. In turn, Roland confides in Revan that the Republic, along with some sympathetic Selkath, had constructed a secret facility in the Harakat Rift, to harvest kolto directly from its source. Construction of the facility was nearly complete when the digging teams reported some sort of obstruction, which Roland thinks may be the star map. Shortly after these reports, all transmissions from the base ceased. No one who the Republic has sent to investigate has returned. Roland has arranged for a submarine to take Revan down to the facility to look for the star map and for any survivors. He is given access to the restricted area in the Republic Embassy, where he finds the submersible. Taking it down to the Harakut Rift facility, Revan is able to access the facility's docking bay. There he finds evidence that something has gone badly wrong. There are bodies in the docking bay, along with blaster holes in the walls and a crashed submersible. Opening the door to the facility, Revan finds one of the mercenaries sent by the Republic to investigate the facility after it went dark. This mercenary was in a panic, saying the Selkath had gone insane and started attacking everyone. Sure enough, as Revan's group makes their way through the facility, they find themselves being attacked by insane Selkath on site. Entering the underwater section of the facility, Revan finds another mercenary who is planning to head out onto the ocean floor to look for an alternative way back to the submarine docking bay. Revan follows him out onto the ocean floor, but the mercenary is immediately eaten by a Firaxa shark. Revan walks along the ocean floor to make it to another part of the facility. There are more insane Selkath inside, but after putting them down, Revan comes across two scientists from the facility. They are scared that Revan will let the insane Selkath and Firaxa in. They start depressurizing the chamber that Revan is in, and he has to deactivate the depressurization sequence, which also drops the force field. The scientists then apologize for trying to kill Revan. They tell Revan that work teams had been outside the facility in the rift near the vent, when there was a rumbling which caused the scientists' heads to feel like they are splitting open. A giant Firaxa shark rose from the rift, and all the Selkath started screaming and turned on the other scientists, driven insane by the noise the shark was making in their heads. Before the facility went down, they had been working on developing a compound to repel the Firaxa. Development hadn't gotten very far, and the compound they had tested was violently toxic to the sharks. One of the scientists advocated for using the existing compound to kill the shark, telling Revan to put the compound into the kolto harvester to be vented out into the water. The other scientist, though, fears what the compound could do to the kolto, and instead advocates for Revan to destroy the machinery which the Republic had installed at the edge of the rift. The scientist thinks that if the machinery is gone, the shark will calm down. Revan goes back out onto the ocean floor and makes his way to the kolto harvester. The giant Firaxa shark is nearby. Revan uses the terminal on the kolto harvester to overload it and cause the equipment to explode. With the kolto harvester destroyed, the giant Firaxan shark does calm down and moves aside, allowing Revan to make it to the star map. Once Revan collects the star map, he returns to the facility. However, on the way back to the submersible, he is confronted by Malak's Sith apprentice, Darth Brandon, flanked by two Dark Jedi. Revan and his companions are able to defeat them, and Revan takes the opportunity to avenge Trask Olgo. Returning to the surface, Revan reports to Roland about the destruction of the harvester, much to Roland's distress. As Revan leaves the Republic Enclave, he is confronted again by city security. The explosions by the Harakut Rift had been detected, and Revan had been seen via spy monitors leaving the submersible. Revan is escorted to the court once more to explain what happened at the Harakut Rift. There, Revan tells the court the truth, and he discovers that at least one of the judges was aware of the joint research station. The judges also believe that the giant Firaxan shark could be the progenitor, the ancestor of the Selkath species. The judges are grateful to Revan for destroying the harvester and saving the giant Firaxa shark, and so they let Revan go. Had Revan wished to kill the shark instead, he could have released the toxin. Doing so would have resulted in Manaan's kolto reserves being tainted, and the Selkath seeking to ban Revan from their planet. However, the Selkath would also not be keen to let anyone know that the kolto was tainted, and Revan could convince them to allow him to come and go freely from the planet in exchange for his silence. Either way, with the Manaan star map acquired, Revan and his companions make their way back to the Ebon Hawk. Entering the spaceport, Revan and Canderous are approached by a warrior who had been under Canderous's command. Jorgi accuses Canderous of letting his men die in order to have the honor of being the first to the enemy commander. He challenges Canderous to fight him in the dune seas of Tattooine. He also tells Canderous that the surviving Mandalorian clans know of this challenge, and if Canderous does not meet him, then Canderous will be stripped of all honor and forever cast out of Mandalorian society. Canderous would later meet Jorgi on Tattooine, and with Revan's help would convince him that his actions during the battle were necessary, that he had sacrificed the few to save many more lives. Jorgi would feel ashamed for questioning Canderous's honor, and he would cleanse his own honor by ending his life on the sands of Tattooine. For now, though, the group continued back to the Ebon Hawk, being stopped once more, this time by a man who is disgusted to see Juhani walking through the city. He is deeply prejudiced against Juhani and all Cathar, saying that they should have exterminated all of them when they had the chance, and implying that he killed Juhani's father. He tries to buy Juhani from Revan, but Revan tells him she is not for sale. Juhani says that she will see this man dead for what he did to her people, though Revan urges her not to fall to the dark side again. The same man then ambushes Revan and Juhani at the Ebon Hawk, along with 2 Selkath who he orders to capture Juhani without killing her. Revan's group eliminates the Selkath thugs and leaves the man mortally wounded. With his dying breath, he tries to provoke Juhani into returning to the dark side, but with Revan's support, she holds firm to her ideals, and the man passes from his injuries. Together, Revan and Juhani then board the Ebon Hawk and leave Manaan behind, heading towards the final star map on Korriban. While on the hyperspace route to Korriban, the Ebon Hawk is caught in the tractor beam of a Sith Indictor-class ship, the Leviathan. The ship is under the command of Karth's old mentor, Saul Karath, a traitor to the Republic. While the Ebon Hawk is being pulled into the Leviathan, Revan, Bastila, and Karth form a plan for their escape, with Bastila suggesting that one of the others attempt to avoid capture and then launch a rescue later. Revan can choose any of his companions other than Karth, Bastila, or Zalbar for this mission, and they will all have their own way of avoiding the initial capture. The crew of the Leviathan capture all the members of Revan's crew, apart from the companion who was chosen. Karth, Bastila, and Revan are taken together and placed in cells, with Saul coming to speak with his old protege. Admiral Karath intends to hold them until Malak arrives, and he references a history between Revan and Malak, though Revan still does not know what this means. Karath refuses to tell him, and instead commences interrogating him, using Bastila's pain to try and get him to talk. Karath's first question is about the location of the Jedi Academy. Revan refuses to answer, and Karath tells him that this was a test anyway. The Sith already had the Academy's location on Dantooine, and they have utterly destroyed it. Revan refuses to provide any information to Admiral Karath, and so he leaves them in their cells to await Lord Malak, activating the torture fields for them all as he goes, sending them into unconsciousness. When Revan awakens, Bastila tells him that she could feel the truth of Karath's words when he said the Jedi Academy was gone. She can also feel Darth Malak's presence growing closer. Still, the three cannot do anything but wait for their companion to come free them. The chosen companion fights their way through the Leviathan. When they make it to the cells, they unlock them, freeing Revan, Bastila, and Karth. Karth says that they need to get to the bridge to open the docking gates of the hangar where the Ebon Hawk is being held, and Bastila says the three of them should do this while the rest of the crew return to the Ebon Hawk. After collecting their equipment, Revan, Karth, and Bastila make their way to the bridge to confront Admiral Karath. The Admiral counsels them to surrender, telling them that Malak will be arriving at any moment. When the three refuse to put down their weapons, Karath and the other Sith attack. Revan's group defeats all of them. As Admiral Karath lays dying, he tells Karth to come closer, and then whispers something to him. He dies before Karth can respond. Karth then turns and accuses Bastila of knowing the thing that Admiral Karath had told him, and Bastila pleads for him to wait until they are back on the Ebon Hawk, saying they will discuss it there. Revan uses the bridge computer to open the docking bay doors, and the three fight their way back to the Ebon Hawk. Just before they reach the docking bay, Lord Malak appears. Malak asks Revan why did the Jedi spare him, and is it vengeance that Revan now seeks. Revan still does not know what Malak means, and Malak laughs at him for not figuring it out. Revan is then struck by memories of Bastila, saying that the Jedi do not kill their prisoners. Master Zar Leston of the Jedi Academy, saying that the Council would not normally accept an adult for training, but that he was a special case. Karth, saying that the Force can do terrible things to a mind, wipe away your memories and destroy your very identity. Master Vrook Lamar of the Academy, fearing that the quest to find the Starforge could lead Revan down an all-too-familiar path. Bastila, saying what greater weapon there is than to turn an enemy to your cause and use their knowledge against them. And finally, the visions that Revan had been seeing all along, of Bastila fighting Darth Revan. Finally, Revan remembers who he is, and his past identity as the Dark Lord of the Sith. Bastila admits that it is true, that she had brought Revan to the Jedi Council, who both healed his damaged mind and locked away his memories, implanting a new identity as a soldier under Bastila's command. Bastila thought that she could use the Force bond that was created between them when she saved his life to draw out his memories and lead them to the Starforge. Malak then stuns Bastila and Karth and challenges Revan, invoking the ancient Sith tradition of master versus apprentice, as it was meant to be. The two battle through the corridors of the Leviathan, and when it appeared Revan was about to overcome his former apprentice, Malak stunned him as well. Fortunately, at that moment, Bastila burst through the door and threw her lightsaber at Malak, triggering his poor attention span and drawing him away from Revan. Bastila urged Revan and Karth to get out of there and to find the Starforge while she stayed to hold off Malak. Karth and Revan returned to the Ebon Hawk, and with Revan holding off the Sith fighters, the Ebon Hawk is able to escape the Leviathan. The immediate danger past, Karth demands that the crew be told about Revan's identity. Revan complies and finds that Mission, Zalbar and Juhani support him, believing in his goodness, while Jolee already knew who he was, and was willingly following him from the start. Canderous is perhaps the most supportive of the non-droid companions, making it clear he will follow Revan on any path. Of the droids, the revelation of Revan's identity has reactivated HK-47's own deleted memory core. He now remembers that Darth Revan had been his master. Like Canderous, HK-47 declares that he is Revan's. T3 is just happy to be there. With the others on board with following Revan, Karth reluctantly agrees to trust him as well, at least for now. As the Ebon Hawk speeds towards Korriban, Revan has a vision of the last star map. Disembarking the Ebon Hawk, Revan is approached by a Twi'lek businessman who had previously done business with Davik. His sources among the Sith have told him of Revan's identity, and he wants to offer him some premium items. The Zerka Corporation officer managing the docking bay recognizes Revan as a Jedi, and comments that he will get into the academy for sure. Revan asks him for clarification, and is told that there is a Sith training academy just outside the city. Entering the city of Dreshte, Revan comes across Shardan, a Sith acolyte from the academy, talking to 3 hopeful applicants. They fail to impress him, and when he sees Revan, Shardan asks him what Revan thinks he should do to them. Revan is able to convince him to let them go, and the hopeful students flee. Moving through the market area, Revan is confronted by a group of acolytes, led by Lesho. She tells Revan that the Sith can do whatever they like on Dreshte, and she commands him to amuse them. Revan humours them by telling a Mandalorian joke, and the group leaves without hostility. Others around Dreshte also tell Revan of the Valley of the Dark Lords, where ancient artifacts are being recovered by the Sith. Thinking that the star map must be in the Valley of the Dark Lords, Revan goes to the academy to try to gain access to the valley. Near the entrance, he comes across some prospective students who have been told to stand at attention for days by a Sith acolyte, Mikkel. Mikkel tells Revan that he has no intention of allowing any of them to become Sith, as true Sith would not just stand there, a true Sith would fight for their life. The guard at the academy gate will not let Revan into the facility, recognizing that he is not a Sith and does not hold the medallion of a student of the facility. The guard tells Revan that in order to be admitted to the academy, another Sith who has already been accepted must decide to allow him in, but the final decision rests with Master Yuthura, who is at the cantina. Revan finds the Sith Master and tells her that he wishes to join the academy. He is able to convince her to accept him as a student. He is also able to convince her that his companions are his slaves, and she allows them to accompany him to the academy. Had he failed to impress her, Revan would have needed to find a medallion another way. Revan allows Yuthura to escort him to the academy and present him to the Sith Master Uther Wynn, along with 4 other acolytes. Uther tells them that only one will be admitted to the academy. The others will need to try again next year, if they survive that long. For now, Yuthura will be their teacher and master while they attempt to prove themselves. She explains that they are competing to gain enough prestige through acts of worth to be selected. They would need to discover for themselves what counts as an act of worth. Uther also tells them that the first to learn the code of the Sith and recite it to him will be rewarded. Revan then retires to his room in the academy, and when he awakes, he finds Yuthura nearby, waiting for him. She tells him she thinks he is the most likely candidate to succeed, and she has a proposal for him. She tells him that during the final test to become a Sith, Uther will take the successful candidate to a tomb visited by Revan and Malak, where they found a star map. There, Uther will be isolated, alone with Revan and Yuthura. She would like Revan to help her depose Uther, so that she will become the master of the academy. To ensure Revan makes it to the final test, she will help him gain prestige and slow down the other candidates. Revan agrees and asks Yuthura to teach him the code of the Sith and for any tips on gaining prestige. She teaches him the code and also mentions a group of rogue students who Uther once hunted down. Also nearby is Lasho, who has her own plan for obtaining prestige. Revan is able to convince her to work together, and she tells him that she intends to retrieve an ancient Jedi holocron, which is in the gullet of a Tukata mother. She asks that Revan meet her in the Valley of the Dark Lords to help put the Tukata down. Before leaving the sleeping quarters, Revan and Karth come across Karth's son Dustil, who had been missing since the attack which killed his mother. Dustil holds a great deal of anger towards his father for not being there for them during the war, and he doesn't want to see him now. Karth tries to tell Dustil that the Sith are evil, but Dustil won't believe it, and refuses to leave the academy, unless Karth can bring some proof that the Sith are evil. Fortunately, finding proof that the Sith are evil is not a difficult task, and Revan finds a computer terminal with student files on it, including one that shows that Dustil had arrived at the academy with a girl called Selene. While Dustil demonstrated great potential, Selene did not, and Uther considered that she was holding Dustil back. So, Uther had her taken out of the academy and terminated, telling Dustil that she died in the valley. Karth presents this file to Dustil, who is shocked the Sith lied to him. However, he still won't leave the academy, now wanting to warn his other friends, and to see if he can find out more information about the Sith that could help. He tells Karth that he will return to Telos, and see him there once this is all over. Returning to Uther, Revan recites the Sith code, and proves that he understands its meaning, gaining his first prestige. Searching out more prestige, Revan is tasked with interrogating a Mandalorian prisoner for the location of his weapons cache. Instead, Revan saves the Mandalorian, putting him into a catatonic state so that he will be presumed dead and dumped outside of the facility. In return, the Mandalorian gave Revan the location of the weapons cache, which Revan can pass on to Uther for more prestige. On the way to the Valley of the Dark Lords, Revan finds the cave entered by the rogue students, and he finds them inside. They tell him that there is another exit from the cave, but there is a large creature blocking it. Revan removes the creature and the students are able to leave, thinking they might see if the Jedi will accept them. Leaving the cave, Revan is able to meet Lasho in the Valley of the Dark Lords just in time. Lasho had been calling to the Tukata mother, and she is coming. Together, Revan and Lasho put the Tukata down, and Lasho recovers the holocron, telling Revan that she will tell Uther of his contribution. Revan, though, insists on returning to Uther together, and being unwilling to do this, Lasho attacks, being quickly eliminated by Revan, who retrieves the holocron. Exploring the nearby tomb of Sith Lord Tulak Hord, Revan is gassed by the former master of the academy, Jorak Uln. Mikkel had already been taken by Jorak and is not in a good condition. He had been tested by Jorak already, and Jorak now intends to test Revan as well, to see if he has what it takes to be one of the Sith. The test is a series of moral questions. If Revan gets the answers right, Jorak will torture Mikkel. Get them wrong, and it is Revan who will be tortured. Whoever survives will then be released. Mikkel implores Revan to work with him, so they both survive. Revan refuses to answer any of the questions, and takes all the punishment himself, to spare Mikkel. Jorak is surprised that Revan survived, and releases Mikkel, telling him he is free to go. Mikkel, however, chooses to free Revan, and together they eliminate Jorak. Mikkel is grateful that Revan chose to spare him, and Revan is able to convince him to leave the Sith. Before leaving the tomb, Revan takes Tulak Hord's mask from the sarcophagus, and an ancient Sith tablet from Jorak, containing his philosophies. Outside the tomb of Marka Ragnos, a Sith student warns Revan that there is an insane assassin droid inside. The Sith hadn't done anything about it, as Uther wanted it left as a challenge for the students, promising a great reward for any that can destroy it. Revan decides to take up the challenge and enters the tomb, finding a large number of war droids, which he has to fight through to get to the assassin droid. When Revan finds the assassin droid, it explains that it was created by the Sith to hunt and exterminate Jedi. However, the Sith made the droid's cognitive systems more independent than intended, and the droid learned to appreciate the value of all life. The droid hid in the tomb and created the war droids for its protection. It now hopes that Revan will help it leave the valley for good. The droid's programming as an assassin droid is at odds with its desire not to kill, and so it doesn't feel like it can leave until its programming has been changed. Revan is able to figure out how to do this, and the droid thanks him before leaving the tomb. When Revan leaves the tomb, the same student tells him that the droid has taken off using a jetpack. Exploring the other tombs, Revan found the tomb of Ajunta Pol. Inside he found the spirit of the man himself, who wants his sword to be taken away from this place, not wanting it to rot away as he has. Ajunta asks Revan to do this for him, however he does not remember which of the 3 swords in the sarcophagus is his, remembering only a line which was said about it. "I am that which grips the heart in fright, hearkens night, and silences the light." Revan examines the swords and places the correct one on the statue. Ajunta remembers his sword and tells Revan to take it. Before he goes, Revan is able to talk Ajunta into returning to the light. Going to leave the tomb, Revan finds Shardan waiting for him. Shardan had planned to lie in wait for someone to retrieve the sword, and then take it from them. Revan gives him one of the other swords from the sarcophagus instead, keeping the real blade for himself. With nothing more to do in the Valley of the Dark Lords, Revan returns to the Academy to report to Uther. He finds Shardan is there already, presenting Uther with the false sword. Uther tells him that there is no place for fools among the Sith, and unceremoniously kills him. Revan then recounts his exploits to Uther, and impresses him enough to be declared the winner. Uther tells him that the final test will occur in the tomb of Nagar Sato. He instructs Revan to rest for now and seek him out in the morning. The next morning, Revan, Uther, and Euthura travel to the tomb together. There, Revan is tasked with finding the star map and a lightsaber within the tomb. Inside, Revan finds a chamber filled with acid. He searches for a way across and finds a corpse with a datapad, talking about a pillar of fire and a pillar of ice as a solution to the acid. Searching these out, Revan finds them guarded by 2 torrent attacks, which he puts down. The pillar of fire and the pillar of ice hold a special fire grenade and special ice grenade respectively, which Revan takes. Returning to the acid chamber, Revan throws the ice grenade into the acid, which causes it to freeze over. Crossing the pool, Revan comes to another chamber, and as soon as he enters, the star map activates. This is the last of the star maps which Revan had to collect. The combined data of the star maps shows Revan the location of the Starforge system. Also in the star map chamber is a statue with the lightsaber he had been tasked to find. Star map data and lightsaber in hand, Revan returned to the acid chamber and found Uther and Euthura waiting for him. Uther congratulates him and tells him there is one last thing he must do: eliminate Euthura to take her place. Revan refuses, and together he and Euthura take Uther down. Once Uther is defeated, however, Euthura turns on Revan, refusing to share power with anyone. The 2 fight, with Revan eventually overpowering her. She yields and asks Revan for mercy. Revan grants her this mercy and convinces her to leave the Sith. Leaving the tomb, Revan then heads back to the Academy. Outside, he finds 3 Sith apprentices. They ask why he is alone and where Uther is. Revan is then forced to eliminate them to gain access to the Academy. Inside, he rejoins his companions, but finds that all of the Sith inside attack them on sight. Revan fights his way through the Academy, and then makes his way back through Dresde to the Ebon Hawk. On board the Ebon Hawk, Revan is able to finally use the collective data of the star maps to locate a planet in the Starforge system. While Revan had been on Korriban, Malak was hard at work, trying to break Bastila and turn her to the dark side. The Ebon Hawk emerges from hyperspace in the Starforge system. They see the Starforge ahead of them, and Karth transmits the coordinates to Admiral Dodonna of the Republic fleet. They plan on waiting for the Republic's arrival, but are detected by Sith fighters, who move to engage them. The fighters are not the Ebon Hawk's only problem though, as Karth reports that they have flown into some kind of disruptor field. Karth is forced to land the Ebon Hawk on a nearby planet. Once on the ground, Karth reports that the disruptor field fried the Ebon Hawk stabilizers, and if they can't find parts to make repairs, the Ebon Hawk won't be able to take off again. The crew will also need to find and disable the source of the disruptor field before taking off, or they will just crash again. T3 picks up power fluctuations on the ship's sensors, which seem to be coming from an ancient temple. They plan to check it out, and also look for parts to repair the stabilizers from other crashed ships. Leaving the Ebon Hawk, the group finds some friendly Gizkas roaming the beach, and some not-so-friendly Rakatan warriors who attack on sight. After Revan eliminates the warriors, 2 survivors of another crashed ship approach them. They are the only 2 left from their mining ship, with many of the survivors from the crash having been killed by the locals, and the rest having tried to make it to other islands. They tell Revan that there are Mandalorians on the planet as well, up by the temple. Exploring the beach, Revan is approached by another group of Rakata, who bring him an invitation from the One, great champion of the Rakata. Revan agrees to speak with the One, and enters the Rakatan settlement. Inside, the One greets him, saying that he knew Revan would return, and would not forget the vow that he swore to him. Revan explains that his mind had been destroyed, and his memories lost. The One believes him, and tells him that last time he was here, Revan gave a vow to destroy the Elders, in exchange for the One's assistance in entering the Temple of the Ancients. The knowledge of how to access the temple lies with the Elders, but if Revan brought that information to the One, he would use it to open the temple. The One offers this deal again, and tells Revan how to get to the Elders' compound. In order to get to the compound, Revan has to pass by the temple, where he is set upon by the Mandalorian group, though they were no match for him and his companions. Moving on towards the compound, Revan comes across a Gizka, hopping towards the wreckage of a ship and setting off a mine. Revan goes to investigate the wreckage, and there finds salvage, which can be used to repair the Ebon Hawk stabilizers. Continuing on to the South Beach, Revan finds the Elders' compound. By the entrance, he is stopped by a hologram who asks why he is there. Revan identifies himself, and the hologram tells him the Council wishes to speak with him. Inside the compound, Revan tells the Council that he has lost his memory, and the Council tells Revan that the last time he was there, he had told the Council he intended to destroy the Starforge, but instead, he unleashed its evil. Revan asks for a chance to prove that he has changed, and so the Elders task him with saving a scout, taken by the One. Revan returns to the One settlement, but this time he is attacked on sight, with the One knowing that he is now working with the Elders. Revan has to fight his way into the settlement, back to the arena, where he had met the One. After defeating the One, Revan speaks with a surviving scout, who thanks him and says that he will tell the Council that Revan saved him. By the time Revan makes it back to the Elders' compound, the scout has already informed the Council of his rescue. The Council deliberates and agree to help Revan enter the temple, in the hope that he has truly changed. However, they will not allow anyone else to enter the temple with Revan. Last time they made an exception, and allowed Revan to take his apprentice Malak into the temple, and it brought untold suffering upon the galaxy. They will not defile the sacred ritual again, so only Revan will be allowed to enter this time. The Elders direct Revan to go to the temple, and tell him they will meet him there once their preparations are complete. While the Elders do possess the knowledge to open the ancient temple, their knowledge can be just as easily used by the One. In another life, a Revan on a different path could have chosen to reawaken old allegiances, and uphold the deal he made with the One so very long ago. If Revan had chosen to wipe out the Elders, the One would have rewarded his efforts by sending his own people to open the temple for Revan. Revan returns to the temple, and is told that the Elders will not start the ritual until he is alone. Revan sends his companions back to the Ebon Hawk, and with this, the Elders start the ritual. However, as they are chanting, Jolee and Juhani come up to Revan, saying that they had a premonition that the temple holds great danger. They insist on accompanying Revan inside. Revan tells the Elder Guide that he needs Jolee and Juhani's help in destroying the Starforge. The guide is persuaded by this, and continues the ritual, allowing Revan to enter the temple and defile the sacred ritual a second time, by allowing his companions to enter as well. At the same time on the Starforge, Malak is talking to his commander. The Sith fleet are massing around the Starforge, and await Malak's instruction. Malak calls for patience, and says his new apprentice is nearly ready. Once Bastila joins her battle meditation to their fleet, Malak believes they will be invincible. After making their way down into the catacombs of the temple, and successfully solving a logic puzzle, Revan is able to speak with a Rakatan computer. It recognizes him, though detects several changes to his composition. The computer noted and recorded the changes to Revan's neurological patterns, allowing him access to the upper levels of the temple. The computer also explains that the Rakata once held a vast empire, spanning over 500 planets, and that they created the Star Forge and the star maps. They sabotaged the star maps when the Rakatan Empire fell, so that the enslaved species could not use them to discover the Star Forge or the planet. Leaving the catacombs, Revan makes his way to the temple summit. There, he finds Bastila. Juhani urges Bastila to come with them and escape, but Bastila tells them that she has sworn allegiance to Malak and the Sith. She intends to prove her worth by killing Revan. She finds Revan stronger than anticipated, however, and urges him to rejoin the dark side and retake his place as the master of the Sith. She invites him to join her and rule over the galaxy. Revan refuses and tries again to convince her to return to the light. Bastila declares him a fool and says she'll be at Lord Malak's side instead. Bastila runs off to her ship and leaves the planet before Revan can stop her. After Bastila is gone, Revan finds the Rakatan computer and uses it to turn the disruptor field off. He returns to the Ebon Hawk and finds the rest of his companions on the beach waiting for him. Karth asks him where Bastila is and what happened inside the temple. Revan tells them that Bastila has fallen to the dark side and gone to the Star Forge. The group resolve to follow her and to try to convince her to come back to the light. Before they can go though, Revan has to repair the hyperdrive. This is simple enough for him, and the Ebon Hawk is soon able to leave the planet. As they leave the planet's atmosphere, they are contacted by Admiral Dodonna. The Republic has begun their assault on the Star Forge, but are taking heavy losses. The Sith fleet seems to be able to guess the Republic fleet's every move. Karth explains that Bastila has joined the Sith and would be using her battle meditation against the Republic. A contingent of Jedi Knights are with the Republic fleet, and Master Vander will send a squadron to the Star Forge to find Bastila and try to distract her from the battle overhead, giving the Republic the opportunity to move their capital ships into position for a final assault on the Star Forge. The Ebon Hawk and two of the small Jedi ships are able to make it aboard the Star Forge. Revan is met by some of the Jedi when he disembarks, and they tell him some of the Knights have already gone ahead. Before Revan and these Jedi can follow, 4 Dark Jedi enter the docking bay. The Jedi urge Revan to go ahead and find Bastila while they deal with the Dark Jedi, and so Revan makes his way into the Star Forge. At the same time, Malak is being informed of the Jedi boarding the Star Forge. Malak is not concerned and simply orders the deployment of the Star Forge's battle droids to deal with them. Assault droids immediately attack Revan and his companions, but they are able to quickly destroy them. Fighting their way through the Star Forge, Revan finds the contingent of Jedi Knights who had gone ahead, and he sees them fall to the Dark Jedi. Revan is able to defeat these Dark Jedi and push on through the Star Forge. Revan's presence is reported to Lord Malak, and in response, he orders that all available troops be sent to intercept him, including the apprentices. Malak does not expect that they will be able to stop Revan. He just hopes that it will slow him down enough to give Malak time to prepare the Star Forge defenses. Revan fights his way through wave after wave of Sith forces, finally making it to the command center. While Revan had been fighting, Bastila was being dispatched by Malak to the command center with the order to kill Revan when he arrived. Sure enough, Revan finds Bastila in the command center, and she attacks him after incapacitating his companions and locking them out. Bastila finds that she is unable to defeat Revan, and she asks that he end her life quickly. Revan tells Bastila that he loves her and cannot abandon her. He asks her to join the fight against the Sith to atone for her actions. Bastila finally agrees and tells Revan that she loves him too. Bastila will remain in the command center and use her battle meditation to help the Republic fleet, warning Revan that once she turns the battle in the Republic's favor, they won't have much time to escape the Star Forge before it is destroyed. With Bastila helping the Republic, the tide quickly turns against the Sith fleet, and the capital ships are able to move into position for the final assault. Revan leaves Bastila in the command center and goes after Malak. He finds him force strangling 2 Jedi. With Revan's appearance, Malak terminates the Jedi. Revan tells Malak that he cannot escape and that he should surrender. Malak, though, makes it clear that he will not do so, and instead activates more of the Star Forge's defenses against Revan, before sealing the door between them. Revan has to destroy these defenses in order to unlock the door. Once he has managed to do so, Revan pursues Malak, confronting his old apprentice one last time on the bridge of the Starforge. Malak contemplates trying to take Revan as his apprentice, and whether it would be worth the risk. Revan makes clear that he will not turn to the dark side again, and Malak decrees that they will face each other in single combat, with the victor to decide the fate of the galaxy. Revan and Malak battle, and when Malak is injured, he reveals the Starforge's other ability. He has taken Jedi who fell in the attack on Dantooine and brought them to the Starforge to prevent them from becoming one with the Force. The Starforge corrupts what remains of their power and transfers the Dark Taint to Malak. Malak heals himself using one of the Jedi, leaving only a husk behind. He then attacks Revan again, but instead of engaging, Revan runs to each of the Jedi and disconnects them from the Starforge so that Malak cannot feed off them. Once the last of the Jedi have been disconnected, Revan fights Malak and finally defeats him. In his final moments, Malak wonders what would have happened if it was him and not Revan who was captured by the Jedi. Could he have returned to the light? Or what if Revan had never led him down that dark path in the first place? What destiny might he have found then? But it is now far too late for Malak to ponder what could have been. And with Malak dead, Revan returns to the Ebon Hawk, finding Bastila and Karth waiting for him. Revan tells them that Malak is dead, and Bastila says they can't celebrate just yet, as the capital ships are in bombardment range, and the Ebon Hawk needs to leave the Starforge before it is destroyed. The three run to board the Ebon Hawk, and the ship takes off just in time. The Republic fleet destroys the Starforge, and sends an honor guard to escort the Ebon Hawk back to the Rakatan planet, where they meet with Admiral Dodonna and the Jedi Council from Dantooine, who all survived the attack on the Academy. Each of the Ebon Hawk's crew are awarded the highest honor, the Cross of Glory, and they are declared saviors of the Republic. Master Vander also wants to honor their actions, saying that the Jedi now have another tale to weave into the grand history of their eternal order, the redemption of Revan, the prodigal knight. Master Vander declares the crew to be the saviors of the galaxy, and tells them to remain ever vigilant, as they may be called on again to defend the glory of the Republic against the tyranny of the dark side. And this is the canonical end to Revan's tale, at least as far as the legends go. However, Revan could have always decided to embrace his old identity and return to the dark side when he met with Bastila on the temple summit. Bastila would not believe at first that Revan was willing to return to the dark side so easily, and they would fight. But when he overpowered her, he would manage to convince her that he truly wished to reclaim his old identity. Bastila would then swear her allegiance to Revan. Jolee and Juhani, though, would not accept Revan returning to the dark side, and he would need to eliminate them. Revan would still shut off the disruptor field and return to the Ebon Hawk, this time with Bastila at his side. He would declare to his companions that he was reclaiming his title of Darth Revan. Bastila would tell of Juhani and Jolee's deaths, and demand that the remaining companions swear their loyalty to Darth Revan. Karth would refuse to do so. However, Canderous would immediately tell Revan that he would follow him anywhere, and be at his side regardless of who they are fighting. Mission would be outraged by Revan turning to the dark side, while Zalbar would be torn between his loyalty to Mission and his life debt to Revan. Karth would try to reassure Mission, promising that she does not need to help the Sith, so long as he is there, and to make good on this promise, he would immediately flee the area. With Mission the only companion remaining who refuses to swear allegiance, Revan would use Force Persuade to have Zalbar execute her, much to Zalbar's despair. Revan would still return to the Starforge in the Ebon Hawk. Along the way, they would still make contact with the Republic, though this time in the hope of using the Republic's attack to distract Malak. Bastila would convince Admiral Dodonna to continue the attack, and Master Vander would still send the Jedi Knights into the Starforge, this time with Malak as the target. On the Starforge, Zalbar would finally come to his senses and realize that Revan twisted his mind to have him kill his friend. He would try to avenge her death, but he would fail and lose his own life at Revan's hands. While fighting through the Starforge, Revan would be able to create a replica of the robes he once wore as Darth Revan, further reclaiming his identity. This time, instead of Malak sending Bastila to face Revan, he would instead send his 3 strongest Dark Jedi, promising them that whosoever amongst them deals the killing blow to Revan, will become Malak's new apprentice. Of course, none of these Dark Jedi would stand a chance against Revan, and with them defeated, Revan would go after his old apprentice. Bastila would still stay behind in the command center, this time using her battle meditation against the Republic to stop them from destroying the Starforge. Revan's other companion would remain with her, and Revan would go on to face Malak alone. Bastila's use of her battle meditation would be detected by Master Vander. He would urge the Admiral to retreat, but she would refuse. Inside the Starforge, Revan would again confront his former apprentice, and this time, when Revan defeated him, Malak would concede that Revan is the one who deserves to be the Dark Lord. Admiral Dodonna would eventually call the retreat, but it would be much too late, and the Republic fleet would be destroyed. Decisive victory in hand, Revan and Bastila would return to the Temple of the Ancients, with Bastila declaring before the assembled Sith forces that Malak is dead and Darth Revan has returned. And now, with the Jedi Order in tatters and the Republic fleet decimated, the core worlds would be left defenseless. The insurmountable Sith forces produced by the Starforge would go forth under Revan's command, ensuring Sith dominance across the galaxy. And that is it. The story of Revan either overcoming or embracing his old self. Like I said, the light side is technically canon to the Legends universe, but as of right now, neither is officially canon in the wider Star Wars lore. Hopefully the remake, when and if it is released, will confirm Revan's status as canon. Until then, if this video does well, I will be making a video for Knights of the Old Republic 2, The Sith Lords. So if you would like this to happen, please let me know in the comments below. And make sure you are subscribed so you see that video when it comes out.